My name is Maya Wilson. I'm 32 years old, and 6 years ago I walked away from Chicago and never looked back. I worked as a front-end developer for a digital marketing agency that handled accounts for luxury brands and Fortune 500 companies. I wasn't just good at my job, I was irreplaceable. I solved UX problems that left entire teams scratching their heads, but outside of work, I didn't exist. At least not to my family. We hadn't spoken since 2015. So when my phone lit up on a quiet Friday night in September 2023, I was frozen to see my cousin's name. Jen was the only one who still had my new number. "Maya," she said softly. "Your parents are trying to reach you. They want you to come home for Thanksgiving." I sank down onto the edge of my small Boston apartment couch. "Now?" I asked. "After all these years?" "They've been asking around," Jen said. "They seem different." I hung up and just stared at the wall. I hadn't thought about my family in months. Years, really. But the memories crashed in fast, always the afterthought, never the favorite. Remembered sitting in a stiff wooden chair when I was 14, knees pulled to my chest, while Dr. Martinez, my childhood therapist, told my parents plainly, "Maya's issues aren't from isolation, they're from being invisible." My father scoffed. "We love both our kids the same." But I knew he was lying. My younger sister Olivia was the star, dance competitions, straight A's, social butterfly, golden child. She got a MacBook Pro for her 16th birthday. I got a Target gift card that Dad had clearly picked up on the way home from work. Even at Christmas, Olivia's gifts were wrapped with perfect bows and thoughtful cards. Mine felt like obligations checked off a list, but this year, they were finally calling me back. And they had no idea who I'd become. Family gatherings were always my personal hell. Olivia would take center stage, loud, charming, magnetic, while I faded into the background like wallpaper no one noticed. When I discovered web development. It started with a faded flyer taped to the community college bulletin board, Web Design Workshop, Room 103, Tuesdays at 6. I went once, then never missed a session. For the first time, I felt seen, not by people, but by the logic of code. The workshop became my sanctuary. We built responsive websites from scratch, debated CSS frameworks, and stayed late debugging each other's projects. I even launched my first portfolio site using a borrowed laptop. Ms. Jackson, our instructor, pulled me aside one day. "You've got something special, Maya," she said. "Don't let anyone dim your light." By 18, I had a plan. I'd applied to college, would leave Chicago, and build my future from scratch. Olivia, of course, was already enrolled at an elite university in New York, riding on my parents' complete financial support. Then came that Thanksgiving dinner. My dad raised his glass to Olivia, making us proud at Columbia. Cheers erupted. Then Mom added, "As for Maya, we're hoping she finds something practical soon." My uncle smirked, "The mall's hiring seasonal workers." The whole table laughed, including my parents. I didn't laugh. What they didn't know was that I'd already secured a partial scholarship to a respected tech program in Boston. Tuition partially covered, housing on my own. I bartended nights, graduated near the top of my class, landed a junior developer position at a marketing agency before the ink was dry on my diploma. 5 years later, I'd just led a complete digital rebrand for a luxury watch company. The bonus? Enough for a down payment on a condo. So I called a realtor. Within a week, my realtor found it, the perfect loft apartment in Cambridge. Open concept, exposed brick, walking distance to my favorite coffee shop. At 32, I officially became a homeowner. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I hosted a small housewarming, just my real friends, the ones who'd seen me pull all-nighters, cry over broken code, and still show up every day. We sat cross-legged on new cushions with Thai takeout and champagne, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes and laughter. Derek raised his glass. "To Maya," he said, "the quiet one who turned invisibility into power." We clinked glasses. I smiled, but a thought lingered. I was going home in a week. But this time, I wasn't going back as the forgotten daughter. This time, I was coming back as someone who knew her worth. The week before Thanksgiving, I took time off work, packed thoughtful gifts, and drove the 5 hours back to my childhood neighborhood in Lincoln Park. The house looked exactly the same: pristine landscaping, fresh paint, and a wreath on the door that probably cost more than my first month's rent in Boston. Rang the doorbell with steady hands of footsteps, then the door swung open. Maya. My mother blinked. Wow, it's really you. She gave me a brief, stiff hug. You look different. Inside, the scent hit me: expensive candles, furniture polish, and that ever-present bowl of potpourri. The living room was packed with familiar faces. Conversations halted as eyes turned toward me. Well, look who finally showed up, someone murmured. Is she wearing those shoes with that bag? Another whispered. I glanced down. Tailored black trousers and a cashmere sweater, subtle luxury but clearly lost on this crowd. Then Olivia emerged from the Kit Wilson, beaming. Everyone, this is Rick, my fiancé. She gestured at the tall man beside her. And we have news. Congratulations, I said coolly. She smirked. Still playing with websites in some basement somewhere? Laughter rippled through the room. I work in digital design, I replied calmly. If you've ever returned home with more power than they imagined, hit subscribe, because the next part of the story is where everything changes. Olivia tilted her head. Like making Facebook posts or fixing WordPress sites? She turned to Rick. Maya was always the weird one, probably working out of some co-working space with all those other failed artists. I just smiled faintly. Something like that. Mom clapped her hands. Dinner will be ready soon. Maya, put your things down. Olivia's using your old room for her wedding planning, so you'll be on the pull-out sofa. Of course she was. Of course I would be. The night was a slow drip of condescension. Aunt Lisa cornered me by the sad bowl of mixed nuts. Your sister's landed a position at that prestigious architecture firm. She's becoming quite the design authority. And you're still doing computer things? I create user interfaces for luxury brands, I replied. She scrunched her nose. Well, not everyone can be artistic like Olivia. Uncle David leaned over during dinner prep. My buddy's IT department is hiring. Pays decent, has benefits. Thanks, I said politely. I'm good. At dinner, they set me at the far end of the table, next to the swinging Kit Wilson door. Olivia, predictably, held the spotlight. The wedding is going to be featured in Chicago Social, she declared. We just need to finalize the venue deposit. How much was it again, Dad? $30,000 for the initial payment, Dad said casually. I nearly choked on my water. My entire apartment down payment. We'll make it work, Mom said, patting Olivia's hand. Family supports family. After dinner, she handed me a blanket and gestured toward the sofa. Thanksgiving morning came with Olivia and Rick storming down the stairs like excited children. Presents appeared for the happy couple, a pre-wedding celebration. They unwrapped mine, thoughtfully chosen cookware from a French brand they'd mentioned online. Maya, these are beautiful, Mom gasped, holding one up, but when it came to my turn, oh no, Mom gasped too loudly. Maya, we completely forgot, Olivia burst out laughing, just like when we were kids. Don't be so sensitive, she smirked. You're an adult now. Something shifted inside me. Not sadness, not anger. Just clarity. I'm not upset, I said evenly, reaching into my bag. Actually, I bought myself a pretty great gift this year. I pulled out my keychain and held it up. The brushed metal caught the light. Mom frowned. What's that? Keys, I said simply. To my new condo. I closed on it last week. Silence settled over the room like a heavy fog. Dad blinked. You bought a condo? With what money? With money from my job, I said. My agency just launched a complete digital experience for Westfield Luxury Group. My bonus was substantial. Mom's eyes narrowed. How substantial? I shrugged. $75,000, after taxes. You could have heard a pine needle drop from the Christmas tree. Olivia's mouth hung open. Rick's eyes widened. Mom and Dad stared like I'd just revealed I was secretly royalty. $75,000? Mom said, her voice pitching up. What kind of web design pays bonuses like that? I told you, I said calmly. I'm a UX director. I build digital experiences for luxury clients. Dad leaned forward. How long have you been earning this kind of money? Since my promotion 2 years ago. The bonuses vary, but my salary's been in the six figures for a while. That's when the switch flipped. Mom stood up, all sunshine and sweetness. Sweetheart, why didn't you tell us? We're so proud of you. Dad chimed in, Olivia, did you hear that? Your sister works with luxury brands. Olivia's jaw clenched. Rick leaned in, whispering something in her ear. Mom perched beside me. So tell us about this condo. How many bedrooms? What neighborhood? 1 bedroom plus office, Cambridge, walking distance to my agency. She beamed. We should visit. Family should stick together. I almost laughed. Family? After 6 years of silence? Actually, I said, standing up, I've got a long drive ahead. Mom reached for my arm. You just got here. Stay. Dad nodded. We haven't even heard about your career. As I packed, I could hear them whispering, voices hushed and urgent. When I came back downstairs, suitcase in hand, they were waiting, those eager, strained smiles already setting off warning bells. Before you head out, Dad said, stepping forward, we should talk about Olivia's wedding. Olivia smiled like she was doing me a favor. We're thinking about making it a destination event. Santorini would be amazing. How wonderful, I said flatly. It's just, Mom hesitated, these destination weddings can be so expensive, how much? I asked directly. Just $30,000 for the venue, Olivia said. With what you make, that's nothing, right? You could be a major sponsor. We'd put you in the program. I looked at them, my parents who once laughed when Uncle David suggested I try for an entry-level IT job, my sister who had spent a lifetime dismissing me, and her fiancé who chuckled along just yesterday morning. No, I said, the smiles vanished. What do you mean, no? Mom snapped. I mean, I'm not giving you any money. But we're family. Dad said, as if the word held any weight. I folded my arms. Where was family when I had to take out loans for college? Or when you paid for Olivia's entire education but left me to figure it out alone? That was different, Mom insisted. We didn't have money back then. You had money for Olivia, I said. Olivia showed promise, she barked, then immediately backtracked. I mean, we thought design would be better for your personality. I grabbed my bag. I need to go. You selfish bitch, Olivia exploded. After everything this family did for you. What did you do? I asked. Raise me? Feed me? That's parenting, not charity. And you made sure I knew I wasn't the priority. I walked to the door as they followed, still protesting. You'll regret this, Mom shouted. I won't, I said, and meant it. By the time I hit the highway, my phone lit up with calls, texts, guilt trips. I blocked them all back in Boston. I poured a glass of wine and watched the sunset from my new balcony. Derek texted, heard what happened. Sorry about your family. Don't be, I replied. This was the best gift they ever gave me, freedom. He sent back a laughing emoji. Your mom's telling everyone you're ungrateful. Let her, I wrote back that night. I slept better than I had in years. The next morning, I woke to a flood of messages, not from my parents or Olivia, but from aunts, uncles, and cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. Your mother told us what happened. How could you abandon your family? Olivia deserves her dream wedding. You should support her. We always knew you were the difficult one. One by one, I blocked them. Every name, every guilt trip. Gone. Except for Jen, she called that afternoon. Jesus, Maya, she sighed. The whole family's imploding. Your mom called everyone saying you're rich and won't help Olivia. Good for her, I said dryly. She's telling people you've forgotten where you came from. Of course she is, I laughed softly. God forbid they admit the daughter they ignored actually built something with her life. Jen's voice softened. I'm proud of you, for what it's worth. It's worth a lot, I told her. You're the only one I care to keep in touch with. Are you really okay cutting everyone else off? Jen, I said gently, I cut them off 6 years ago. This just made it official. That evening, I met my friends at our usual spot in Cambridge, a cozy wine bar with worn leather booths and string lights over the bar. I told them everything. Good riddance, Derek said. They sound toxic as hell. Do you think you'll miss them? Another friend asked. I thought about it. No. I think I've been mourning the family I never had. This just closed the book. I raised my glass. To chosen family. To chosen family, they echoed, smiling. My phone buzzed, an unknown number. I switched it to silent. 8 months later, summer had wrapped the city in golden light. I sat on my balcony, coffee in hand, watching morning unfold below. It felt like emerging from a fog I hadn't realized I'd been living in. Jen still called weekly with updates, not because I asked, but because she cared. Olivia had to downsize the wedding, she told me. Local venue, cash bar. That's nice, I said, and meant it. I hoped my sister would learn something about value and priorities. According to Jen, my parents had turned my betrayal into their favorite sob story at every family gathering. They painted me as the ungrateful daughter who vanished despite all their sacrifices. Meanwhile, my life had taken a turn I wouldn't trade for anything. For months after that disastrous Thanksgiving, I met Alex at an industry conference, a product designer with a warm laugh and deep respect for boundaries. He understood the tech world and, more importantly, understood what it meant to walk away from toxic family. He had done it too. Work was thriving. I'd been promoted to creative director for the agency's most prestigious accounts. The pay raise was substantial, but what thrilled me more was the freedom to build something groundbreaking. My team respected me. My ideas mattered. I was finally living the kind of life I used to dream about from a lumpy pull-out sofa in my parents' living room. About 2 months ago, Olivia somehow got hold of a new number and called. Hey Maya, she said, awkwardly chipper. Thought we could catch up. What do you want? I asked directly. The honeymoon, we're thinking Bali, things are tight right now. Mom and Dad already helped with the wedding. No, I said. You don't even know how much, doesn't matter. I hung up, blocked the number, and as I sat there in my own apartment, fresh coffee beside me, Alex reading the Sunday paper across from me, I felt nothing but peace. Everything they said I'd never have, respect, stability, success, I'd built on my own terms. Jen later mentioned they'd turned my old bedroom into a home gym. It didn't sting. That room never felt like mine. This one does. They still tried reaching me through distant cousins and family friends. My favorite was Aunt Lisa's voicemail, family is forever, Maya. But I'd already walked away, and I wasn't looking back. Alex and I were planning a trip to Portugal next month. We'd been learning basic Portuguese, mapping out coastal towns and bookmarking seafood restaurants. Jen messaged me, Mom saw your Instagram. Says it's just like you to vacation instead of helping family. Good, I said. Maybe she'll finally get it. Last week, I was promoted to executive creative director. Top-tier salary, equity in the agency. My boss said, you've transformed how we approach luxury digital experiences. We celebrated with friends. Derek joked, your mom probably sensed your bank balance went up tonight. Alex brought champagne to the balcony. Let's buy a house, I said. With a yard. Maybe a dog. My phone buzzed. Jen again, Mom says you must be doing something illegal to afford your lifestyle. I laughed. Let them spin their stories. I am living mine. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment. Tell me what you walked away from, what peace you built. Your support reminds me that I'm not alone, and maybe you need that reminder too. My advice. Don't wait for permission to choose yourself. Build the life that reflects your worth, not their expectations, and if you relate to this story, hit subscribe.